I feel it in my bones, you're about to move. I feel it in the wind, you're about to ride in. You said that you would pour your spirit out. You said that you would form sons and daughters. So come.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to A2 Church. Let's put our hands together. Come on.
I feel it in my bones, you're about to move. I feel it in the wind, you're about to ride in. You said that you would pour your spirit out. You said that you would form sons and daughters. So let the rain come to reach us in love. Let your glory rushing like a flood. We are fixed on this one thing, to know your goodness and see your glory. Oh, we transformed by this one thing, to know your presence, see your beauty. I can see it now, your kingdom come. I can hear it now, the sounds of heaven. You said that if we ask, we will receive. So you're asking for the greater measure. So like the rain, come to reach us in love. And let your power rush in like a flood. We are fixed on this one thing, to know your goodness, see your glory. Oh, we transformed by this one thing, to know your presence and see your beauty. So come and blow on through, Spirit move. We're ready for you to come and blow on through. Come and do what only you can do. Come and blow on through. Spirit I'm gonna catch the wind. I'm gonna catch the wind. I am bold, no fear inside. Spread my wings, open my life. Like an eagle whose home is the sky. I'm gonna catch the wind. I'm gonna catch the wind. Sing it out.
worship. Would you be seated, please? You should have received elements for Holy Communion as you entered. If you'll go ahead and take those out. If you didn't receive those elements, Patrick's in the back and he's coming down the aisle. He'll find you. He'll give you those elements. This is Psalm 33, beginning at verse 18, out of the Passion Translation. The eyes of the Lord are upon even the weakest worshipers who love him. Those who wait in hope and expectation for the strong, steady love of God. God will deliver them from death, even the certain death of famine, with no one to help. The Lord alone is our radiant hope, and we trust in him with all of our hearts. His wraparound presence will strengthen us. As we trust, we rejoice with uncontained joy flowing from God. Let your love and steadfast kindness overshadow us continually, for we trust and wait upon you. As I was reading my devotional this week and I read that first phrase, the eyes of the Lord are upon even the weakest worshipers who love him. Those who wait in hope and expectation for the strong, steady love of God. I thought, that's me. Sometimes I am the weakest of worshipers, but God says, my eyes are upon you. So take out these elements, peel back the clear, revealing the bread. Peel back the foil, revealing the juice. And this is the meal that God has designed for weak worshipers, for people who need strength. This helps us remember what Jesus did for us, not what we do for him. So taking the bread in your hand, the night Jesus was betrayed, he took bread, he broke it, and he said, this is my body for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Let's eat the bread. Likewise, after supper, he took the cup and said, this cup is the new covenant in my blood shed for you. Whenever you drink this, do this in remembrance of me. Let's drink the cup. Now, if you can sit that empty cup, that container aside, and if you're comfortable in doing it, just raise up your hands and thank God that even the weakest of worshipers who love him, they merit the attention of an almighty, all sovereign, all strong, all powerful God. If you feel comfortable in doing it, just lift up your hands to that God right now. Remind yourself of his grace, his goodness. There's nothing that can stop your goodness now. Sing that out loud to God. There's nothing that can stop you. There's nothing. There's nothing that can stop your goodness. Amen. Aren't you thankful for the goodness of God? Let's give God a clap offering of praise. Let's let it ring to our God. Let it ring out loud to our God. Hey, good morning, A2. Let's try that again. Good morning, A2. It is awesome to see you. I want to invite everybody in the room to take out this card. It's in the seat back in front of you, unless you're on the front rows, and then it's in the container beneath you. Everybody take out a connection card. If you're a first, second, third time guest, it's the only thing we ask you to do. Fill out this card, drop it in the container that's going to pass in just a moment. We would love to know that you're present. For both guests and regulars, if there's a prayer need we can join you in praying about, you can complete that need, place it there on the card, let us know. A team of people, they go into action this afternoon and they'll be praying for your need, and God answers prayers. So go ahead and list those. Lots of information in this program. Check it out. By the way, I just want to say, heads up, immediately following this experience in Connect Room, if you want to find out more about A2, I want to invite you to Connect One. I'm going to share the mission, vision, heart of A2, and we're going to serve you a free lunch. It's Connect One. It's in the Connect Room immediately when we end this experience. Now, I'll tell you, one verse. This has been an amazing series. It continues this morning. It completes next week. You get a special treat. My brother is going to be here next week, wrapping up one verse he's never shared in our entire 10 years at A2. He's sung here before. He shared at a men's gathering, but not in the Sunday morning gathering. Next Sunday, Kelly, my brother, I can't wait for you to meet him. It's going to be a wild morning. It's going to be a fun morning. Be prepared. This morning, immediately after we sing the next song, we'll do Connect Time. You'll see the video announcements. And a few years ago, an intern joined us from Lee University, spent the summer with us. We love the intern. Said, hey, if you want to come back next summer, we'd love that. He came back the next summer, and in the middle of that internship, we needed somebody to serve as our children's pastor. I called him and said, Nathan, would you consider this? Without hesitation, he jumped on board, faithfully served for about 2 years as our children's pastor, provided a great foundation for Zach Walker that Zach has been building on. When we decided to launch another ministry, we pitched that to Nathan. He took that ministry, launched A2 TV, and every week, along with you that gather in this room, over 400 and something people every week gather in this room, but online, over 500 unique devices join us every week to watch this experience. We get feedback as far away as Germany. A week and a half ago, a pastor from Germany emailed, said, I love this sermon. I love this artwork. Could I have the manuscript? Could I have the artwork? We sent it to him because we want to bless the church. And now we're getting to do it globally because of the vision, leadership of Nathan Harmon. When he starts to the stage, like we always do, we want to give honor to whom honor is due. I want us to go crazy and honor the man of God. Is that cool with you? How many of you are ready to continue worshiping? Come on. Let's sing this song and then we'll do Connect, and then Nathan will come. God bless.
Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won, for you have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands, great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands,
Would you stand with us?
I know the night won't last. Your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again. Jesus, you're still enough. Keep me within your love. Oh, my heart will sing your praise again. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness. Your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness. Your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me yet. Never fail me yet. I've seen you move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I've seen you move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I've seen you move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I'll see you do it again. You move again. Still, your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me yet. And you never failed me yet, and I never will forget. And you never failed me yet,
and I never will forget. Oh. Oh. Sing it out. I've seen you move. You move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I've seen you move. You move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I've seen you move. You move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. Oh. Good morning, A2 Church. How are y'all this morning? It's good to see y'all. Y'all sound awesome. This is our connect time. Reach across an aisle, shake someone's hand, hug someone's neck.
Welcome to A2. We're so glad that you've joined us today. My name is Leanne, and I'd like to give a special welcome to our first, second, and third time guests. And if you're joining us online with A2 TV, we're so excited that you're with us today. Here are a few things happening at A2. Parents, make A2 Kids Camp part of your summer plans. It will be July 16th through 18th from 9 to 12. Online registration is open now. Just log on to a2church.org/A2kidscamp to register your child. We would love for you to serve at this year's camp. Visit our table in the foyer for more info and to sign up. Hey parents and students of A2 Church, summer is here. For us, this means Motion Conference is right around the corner. We will be going as a group and having the best time ever. Motion Conference is July 26th through 28th, and trust me, it's something that can't be missed. Let's all start signing up now because the earlier you buy a ticket, the better the price. Mark on your connection card for more info. Join us today after the second worship experience for Connect One, where you can hear Pastor Chris talk about how you can connect and own the mission, values, and ministry of A2. Don't worry if you can't make it today. Connect One takes place in the Connect Room every first Sunday of the month. And next week, during the 1045 worship experience, we will have Connect 2, where you can connect to 5 simple practices that can accelerate your growth as a follower of Jesus. So make sure to come to Connect 2. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We hope that God is able to minister to you as we continue our series, One Verse.
All right, good morning, A2 Church. Thank you, guys. Thank you. It is such an honor to be able to be here with you all this morning and to serve in a different role than I normally serve on a Sunday morning, and just to be able to get to spend some time with you and speak to you today. And I want to say thank you, Pastor Chris, for taking that chance on a 20-year-old who had no idea what he was doing, didn't know anything about leading a ministry, didn't know what I was doing in the capacity that I'm in now. But thank you for trusting in me and that opportunity. It means a lot. Thank you, Pastor Chris. So with that being said, I know I don't know a ton of you. I'm usually behind the scenes. I'm more of a quiet person. Let's just be honest, right? I'm not an outgoing extrovert. So let me give you a little bit of background about me and where I'm from. And so I'm not from a bigger town or city, kind of like we're here in Birmingham. It's a little bit busy here, especially here on Highway 280. There's a lot more people. I'm from a very rural area. It's called Bethalto, Illinois. You've probably never heard of it. It's a smaller town. It's close to St. Louis, but it's a lot more remote, and it's kind of, just out there. And in Illinois, we're really known for corn. So there was a lot of corn by my house. And in fact, the intermediate school that I went to was completely surrounded by corn. And so it's just a different feel to be down here. And the street, in fact, that my parents live on, I got a picture for you guys. This is the street that my parents live on. So it's an unmarked road, and there's a ton of corn, right? So you'll go down, there'll be a subdivision of houses, maybe 50 to 100 houses, and then you'll drive down again, and guess what? There's more corn. Right? And to give you a glimpse of what some backyards look like there, here's another picture. And so you got a pool, and then right after the pool is corn. So it's a little bit different, right? And being there, we had, some of my friends and I, we had this little joke where we would say there would be a change of scenery when you're driving. And that change of scenery would be from going from corn on the left and soybean on the right to soybean on the left and corn on the right. We would joke about that. That's the change of scenery from where we're at. And growing up here, I had a really good friend. In fact, we're still really good friends. And about 2 years ago, I was the best man at his wedding, and we happen to have the same first name, Nathan. So everybody had to call us by the last name so we knew who they were talking to. And we used to hang out all the time, like every week, every weekend, and we'd have to change. We have to take turns going to each other's house to give our parents a break, because I'm sure they were probably getting sick of us hanging out together all the time, just being loud, obnoxious, maybe causing a little bit of trouble here and there. And growing up there in a smaller town, we didn't have a ton to do. We had like 3 different options. And when you hang out all the time, 3 options get old really quick. Either they get old or, they cost money and you're like, okay, we got to figure out something else to do here. So what we would do that was cheap fun was go to other kids' houses in the youth group and teepee them and teepee their house. Now, I'm told that I guess in the South you call it something different. You call it rolling, but I really think that in the Midwest and up north, we got it right. Like toilet paper, teepee, we're teepeeing someone's house. We're not rolling it in the yard. But, anyways, we used to do this to pass the time. And there was a time that we wanted to go to this one kid's house, and my friend's dad offered to be our ride, because at the time we didn't have a driver's license. So we're like, okay, perfect. And he's like, yeah, I'll take you. We'll go get the toilet paper. I'll be your getaway car. So we had a perfect plan, right? If we were in trouble, we had a van to get us out of there. And so we're going to Walmart, and we're picking out our toilet paper. And of course, you got to go with the cheap 1-ply, because that's really the only purpose that it serves. You can't really use that stuff. But so we're going and we're looking for that. And we're going down the aisle. There's a 4-pack. We're like, nah. There's an 8-pack, maybe. There's a 12, nah. And then there's this jumbo pack of like 48. And we're like, yes, this is the one. We're going to take this pack. And it was a little bit overkill because they had like 2 small trees in their front yard. But we had plenty of toilet paper, and we were going to cover those trees. So we get our jumbo pack. We get in the van. We drive to the house. And, it looks like they're just chilling, watching TV. It's kind of late. Maybe they're going to bed, So we're like, this is perfect. We're out there. We're just chucking these toilet paper rolls into the trees, and we're covering them. I mean, there's not much green left. It's basically white. And we're looking down at our pack, and we're like, okay, we're halfway done. We got another 24 more rolls to go. Let's keep doing this. And all of a sudden, the front porch light turns on. Now, I have this theory And his dad never owned up to it, but I really believe that his dad called the house and told him that we were there. Because right after that front porch light turns on, out comes our friend with one of those battery-powered, fully automatic airsoft guns and just starts wailing on us with it, just unloading the entire thing. So we're trying to hide behind this little tree, and we're like, okay, we got to wait for a break because we got to run to the car. We got to get to that van, and we turn around. He's gone. The van is gone. His dad left us there. So we're like, all right, well, I guess we're running on foot now. Plan failed. So we take off running on foot. And then eventually his dad comes around the corner, opens the van up, we get in, and he's just laughing his butt off. He thought it was the most hilarious thing that he left us there. And we trusted him. He had one job, and he let us down. His one job was to drive us there and to take us home, and he failed at it. So we put our trust in the wrong person there. And I think that there's time to time that, we put our trust in the wrong person and then they let us down, right? Sometimes it's a funny story like this, but sometimes it's a very serious moment when we really trusted somebody to help us out with something and they failed us. And even a funny story like this, unfortunately, can change, it can skew, it can, take what we think real trust looks like and change it to something else. Now, when we say we're going to trust somebody, we don't really expect them to fulfill that, right? We expect them to maybe come part of the way through, but to, in the end, let us down. That's what our view of trust ends up looking like, because time after time, people let us down. But I want to tell you today that, sometimes we put our trust in the wrong person. But there is one person that we can always trust, and that's God. We can always put our trust in God because he's always going to be there for us. He loves us. He's always going to keep his promises, and he's always going to be faithful to us. We can always trust God no matter what. And so today, what I want you guys to walk away with, if you can only walk away with just one thing, if you forget everything else, but except for that story, you'll probably remember the story, right? I mean, it's a funny story. Everybody remembers those. But if you walk away with just one important thing, I want it to be this, that you walk away with just a little bit more trust in God, even if it's just a little bit more. So our big idea for today is this: life gets easier when you trust God. Remember that. Life gets easier when you trust God. Can we say that together? Life gets easier when you trust God. That was all right. Let's do it one more time. Life gets easier when you trust God. Now, I'm not telling you that life is perfect, that life is going to be perfect. Just because you trust God doesn't mean you're going to be able to sit by the beach every day and sip on some smoothies, right? That's not what I mean. I know life is difficult. Life is tough. It's never going to be perfect. But when we learn to trust God, it gets less difficult. It gets a little bit easier. It's not going to be perfect, but life gets easier when we trust God. So that's why I said I hope today that we all walk away with a little bit more trust. Not just you, but me as well. I hope that we all walk away with that, because I need it too. I need to trust God a little bit more each and every day. And so for today, our verse is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. And it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding, but seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take." And this verse is so close to my heart because it really, truly did change the trajectory of my life. It drastically changed from where I was to where I am today. I would not be here with you guys if God did not present this verse to me. I may be in a different place. I don't know where I would be, but I know I would not be here if it wasn't for this. And this verse is so important to my life that I got it tattooed onto my arm, and my parents weren't very happy about it. But it was so important to me. I had to have it because I could not forget that moment that when God gave this to me. And I also need it as a daily reminder that I need to trust God. Because when I trust God, he's proven himself to be faithful and that he's always going to be there for me. And he's going to work everything out. Another way that this verse is written, verse 6, it ends with saying that he will remove the obstacles in your way. So he'll show you which path to take and he'll remove those obstacles. But he'll do that when you trust him. Like I said, this means a lot to me. So let me share a little bit of insight of why this is such an important verse to me and why this changed the direction of my life. It changed me from going into a field of engineering, into ministry. And this was a very exciting, but it was also a very difficult time because I was in my second year of mechanical engineering, and all of a sudden God says, I want you to go to ministry. That was exciting, but also it's like, well, I just spent 2 years doing engineering school. Like, am I supposed to just stop what I'm doing and go? And, I knew that I needed to make a change because I'm pretty sure that engineering wasn't really going to help me that much as being a pastor, right? Those two don't really go hand in hand very well. I mean, I don't think Pastor Chris is going to have the urge after today to go and pursue a mechanical engineering degree to be a better lead pastor, right? I don't think that that's what he wants to do. So I knew that there needed to be a change. But the hard part was when I was spending some time in prayer and fasting, God told me where I was going to go, but he didn't tell me how I was going to afford to go. You see, because when I was in engineering school, I had scholarships for grades because like math just really clicks for me. So it was an easy path to go on. And so I had scholarships for school. And then also my mother worked at the university, so I had a discount that way. But as a transfer student to Lee, I didn't have those. They didn't have very good scholarships for transfer students. They, obviously I didn't have a family member working there to get a discount, so school price was significantly going to go up. But I knew God called me to go there. But the problem was I didn't know how I was going to afford to go, and I didn't know where I was going to live. Those are two pretty important things when going away to college, right? So, I spent some time like, okay, God, I need your direction. I need you to show me how this is going to work out. And being somebody who's very math oriented, like I needed to see that. Like I needed to see how the bills were going to be paid, how I was going to have somewhere to stay. But the whole time, God gave me this verse, and he says, I need you to trust me in this moment. I need you to trust that I've called you to come here, that I'm going to take care of those details. You're in point A, I need you to get to point B, but don't worry about the in-between. Don't worry about that path. Don't worry about anything that can come up in your way that could prevent you from getting there, because I've got it. I've got it under control. And, to make it a little bit more difficult, in that time, I had family members that really, really loved me, and some friends that really loved me and wanted what's best for me. And this was also like my parents. And at the time, it didn't make sense to them because God spoke it to me. He didn't speak it to them. And at that time, they told me to put ministry on the back burner. Like, wait a little bit, finish your engineering degree, then we'll figure out how you can do that later on. And that was really, really tough. If I want to be completely honest with you, that was probably the hardest moment to trust God, because I knew God was telling me one thing, but yet my parents, who deeply love me and just want what's best for me, are telling me something completely different. That was very, very hard to honor God and to trust him in that moment, because I felt like I was disrespecting my parents by doing something completely opposite that they were trying to give me advice on. And they were doing it out of a place of love. But God was trying to tell me something in that moment. And that was that I can't trust people. I gotta trust him. I've gotta lean into him. I've got to. Because if I try to lean on people, if I try to lean on, what makes sense, lean on, the government for loans and stuff, how am I going to work all this out? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I have to trust God and trust that he is going to take care of all of the details. And I just want to be completely open with you guys that was very hard. And, it did teach me to trust God, because as I, went to Lee, I took that step of faith. I said, you know what, God, it doesn't make sense, but you told me I got to trust you. So I'm going to trust you. And every step that I took in the direction of trust, time and time again, he proved me right. He proved that he is going to be faithful, that he had a promise for my life, and that he had a plan, and he was going to hold up that side of the deal that he had. Everything was going to work out the way it was supposed to. I didn't have to understand. And I think that's the hard part, is because we like to know what's going to happen, right? We like to be in control of our lives. And it's really hard to go to God and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to give up my control. I'm going to trust you, and you're going to take care of everything for me. That is so hard to do. And it's still something that I struggle with. My story and what happened in this time, it did not fix my struggle of trust. It did not completely fix that. Trust is something that I still struggle with. It's something I have to learn and I have to choose to do. So if you're here today, like, I want you to know that it's okay if you struggle trusting God. It's okay. You're not alone. I do it. There are a lot of pastors that struggle with trusting God. And if they struggle with trusting God, it's okay that you do. Don't beat yourself up for it, because we all do it. And the beautiful thing is that God just wants us to learn how to trust him. He doesn't expect us to do it right here, right now, and fully trust him. And because this is still a learning moment for me, I found 3 things that I think that help me learn to trust God more, and I hope that they help teach you to trust God more. And I tried really, really hard to think of a perfect answer for you of how you can trust God. As soon as you do this, you fully trust God 100% of the time. And I couldn't, and I'm sorry. But I really think that these 3 things are going to help you guys out, because they help me out. And I need to do these constantly so that way I learn to trust God more each day. So our first thing that we need to do in order to trust God is to know God. We got to know him. And that's the beautiful thing about relationship, is that we have an opportunity to have relationship with God. And he's not just this being that we have to fear and respect, but he's this God that wants us to have relationship with him. And relationship with people, it builds trust. The relationship that you have with your friends, your family, your spouse, it helps you to trust them. It grows trust. You're more likely to trust somebody to have a relationship with than somebody you just met, right? How many people trust a complete stranger? That's what I thought. Yeah, nobody, right? We don't trust people we don't know. We trust people that we do know. And that's why we got to know who God is. So we know God by doing 2 things. We know him by reading the Bible and spending time in prayer. The Bible is God's word. It is him. He breathed it. The Holy Spirit the Spirit of God breathed this to life. It is who he is. And it will teach us how he speaks to us. It'll show us what his voice sounds like, because he's the one that wrote it. So when we read God's word, it helps us to know and understand who God is. So that way when he is speaking to us, we know that it's him speaking to us and not somebody else or our own thoughts. And when we know what he sounds like and what he's saying to us, then we know we're trusting him and not something else. We're not trusting ourselves or we're trusting other people, but we're trusting God because we know what he sounds like. And also prayer. Prayer is as simple as communicating with God. It's just communication. And communication is a big part of relationship, right? You got to have conversations with your spouse if you want to have a good relationship with them, or your friend. You got to have conversation with them. If you don't, every time you talk, then you're just catching up. You're not being real with each other. You don't have the opportunity to grow that relationship because you just got to catch up on what happened. You're just playing catch up the whole time. And communication can make or break your relationship. And I think that it's huge for us to talk to God, and he wants us to talk to him because all he wants you to do is just come to him and tell him about your day. He wants you to tell him what was good, what was bad, what you're happy about, what you're struggling with. He just wants you to be open and honest with him. And we can know God by doing these 2 things daily. And it doesn't take a lot of time. We can do this by just spending a little bit of time with God each day, reading his word and spending time in prayer. And when you know God, the more you know him, the easier it is to trust him. And our second point for today is surrender. Now, this is probably the hardest one for us to do, right? We are all selfish beings. I am selfish. I'm just going to be completely honest. I am selfish from time to time, or probably more times than not, if I'm being real. We are all like that. It's okay to admit it. If you won't admit it, you're lying to yourself. So might as well just admit it's a safe place. We're all selfish, so we can all admit that we're selfish. It's okay to do that. And if you still think that you're not, I got a question. Let me ask you the last time that you had this great idea that you wanted to present to your group of friends or to your boss, and immediately they shot it down. And your response was, okay, yeah, thank you. I'm glad you shot my idea down. That was terrible. Let's go with someone else's idea. When was the last time that was your response? Ever? Well, that happens to me all the time. Pastor Chris is always shooting me down. I can never get an idea out before, without him going, anybody else? Anybody else got an idea? I'm kidding, he doesn't do that to me. Not all the time, maybe every once in a while. No, but for real, we are selfish sometimes. And in order for us to trust God, we got to give up what we want. We got to give up what we want. It's not about us. It's not about how we expect things to happen. It's not about our will, but it's about God's will. And when we trust his will, we trust him and we seek his will, that's when we can learn to trust God more. Because the problem is when we have our selfish ways, when we focus on what we want, and if we're trying to get from where we are now to wherever we want to be next, wherever God's leading us next, and we have our idea of how we're going to get there, and we expect it to happen exactly this way, when it doesn't happen this way, you feel like God failed you. But he didn't fail you. That's because your ambitions, your will did not line up with his. And if you have a different idea of maybe how you're going to or you have this idea of where you are now and where you want to be, and where you end up doesn't look like where you wanted to be, again, you feel like God let you down, but he didn't. You have got to get your will to line up with his will, so that way you can trust God. And when you don't, that's when you feel like he let you down. But he's never going to let us down. We can always trust him. And not only do we have to get rid of our selfish ambitions, but we have to, 3, choose trust. It's a choice that we have. God's not going to make us trust him. We have to choose to trust him. And like in my story, I had to make a choice. I had to choose whether or not I relied on what I could physically see and what made sense to me, or was I going to rely on God and take care of those things that I did not understand and that did not make sense. I had to choose to trust God. And like I said before, that is really hard. It's really hard because we like to be in control. We like to have our hands in everything. We want to know how we're going to get somewhere. And God just wants us to trust him. And, I grew up with the mentality that if you want something done right, you've got to do it yourself. And, whether you grew up that way or you learned that over time, some of us have that mentality that if we want something done right, we have got to do it ourselves. And when we have that mentality, we don't trust God. Not only do we not trust people, but we don't trust God. We still expect that we have to do it ourselves. And if we don't, then it's not going to work out. But that's not true. We got to choose to trust him. We have to make that choice. And this is a difficult choice to make. It really is. I'm just being completely honest and real with you. That is still a hard thing that I have to do, is to trust God, to make that choice. Because it doesn't happen overnight. Wanting to make that choice does not happen overnight. It's a process that I'm still learning. So if you're still learning to trust God, that's okay. But it's not okay to stay there. It's not okay to stay in a state to where you have a hard time trusting God. We got to start making progress and go in the direction of choosing to trust God. We got to choose. And when we do choose to trust God, we got to do it 100%, right? We can't do it 50%. There's no halfway when it comes to trust. Because if you're saying, well, I kind of trust you, then you're really saying you don't trust me, right? That's what you're saying. Because if you can't put 100% trust into God, then you're not trusting him at all. It's all or nothing. And that's why Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all of your heart. All of it. You got to give him 100% when you trust him. 100%. Now, I hope you guys walk away today with a little bit more trust in God. Even if it's just a little bit. Because I know that that's what I need. Every day I got to grow that. Every day. Whether you're trying to trust God with a direction that he has for you. You're trying to trust him with your finances, or you're trying to trust him with healing. I know that that's really hard. And I know what that's like because my mom, she really struggles with health. She has to choose to trust him that he's going to heal her. And when you don't see the results come, it's hard to trust God. And not just with healing, but when you don't see the results come, when you trust God with your finances, but yet money's still tight and you're still struggling, it's hard to choose to trust him. But when we do choose to trust him, that's when he shows us his faithfulness. We trust him with all of our heart and we lean on him and say, God, you're the only one that can do this. I can't do it without you. That's when he shows how faithful he is and how good he is, how much he loves you. Because he does love you. He's a father that loves you so much that he just wants what's best for you. And he wants you to trust him for that. And when you do, he's going to show up. I'd like to go ahead and invite everybody to go ahead and bow their heads and close their eyes for a moment. And I just want to ask if there's anybody here this morning that has never trusted God, ever, with anything. You never even trusted God with the gift that he gave us in Jesus. You haven't accepted that. You haven't trusted him with the fact that he did send Jesus for you, so that way you can spend eternity in heaven. If that's you here today, I'd like to invite you to go ahead and raise your hand. If you want to make that decision to trust him with that. Maybe you're here today and you struggled with trusting God because people have let you down. And that's shaped your view of trust. And now you have a hard time trusting God because if people let you down, you feel like God's just going to let you down too. If you're here today and you want to walk away today with a little bit more trust in God, I'd like for you to just go ahead and let's stand. Let's be bold. Let's stand. If you need to learn to trust God more and you're willing to admit that today, I'd like to ask you to stand. I know I'm already standing, but if I was sitting, I would stand in this moment because every day I need to get better at trusting him. I want to pray for you guys. Not because I got it figured out, but because I'm in the same boat that you are. And I think that we can all grow in this. We can learn to trust him. It's a process. It's okay. So let's pray together as a family and pray that we all learn to trust God and we help each other with this. Father, we thank you so much for proving to us that you are faithful time and time again. And God, I'm thankful for your grace. The fact that even when we struggle to trust you, God, you still love us. You don't get mad at us for that. Thank you, God. And today I pray that we walk away with a little bit more trust in you. We can apply these 3 steps to teach us how we can trust you more. Because God, when we trust you, life gets easier. It's not perfect, but it gets less difficult. So God, I pray that today we trust you. We trust you more. And when we doubt your trust, help us to know that that we can trust you. Because your word says that we can. And your word is true. In Jesus' name, amen. We're about to go into that song again called Do It Again by Elevation. And this is one of my favorite songs. And that's because this song was written about God's promises, how faithful he is with those, and how we can have confidence in him because he's never going to let us down. So when we sing this song, we're going to start with the bridge, and then we're going to go into the chorus a little bit later. I want you guys to sing to God, thank him for his faithfulness, thank him for being the one and only person that we can always put our trust in, being the one that will never let us down. So let's sing that from that attitude this morning and thank him for that and just lean into his presence. So let's go ahead and sing that.
You move the mountains, and I believe I see